y'all come on. Let's go inside.
You know, what we're doing is quite a bit different just from the outdoor production point of view. We're the only exclusively outdoor producer. We're the only small batch multi-site producer. And also, you know, the excitement of the new regulations. That's a lot of new things at the same time.
Right.
So it can take, you know, some education to explain exactly how the collective is different from other licensed producers. But it's really not unlike other agricultural systems in which the farmers get their genetics from a certain source every year. They produce them, they send them to a processor at the end, they collect their check. I mean, farmers typically aren't, you know, packaging their products, marketing them, turning them into derivative products. I mean, it's really a bit of a strange system to have a commodity like cannabis be vertically integrated. So it's a really exciting time in the industry. It takes some time to get the point across, and there's certainly some controversy around outdoor production in general. Some people say, you know, it's impossible to grow good quality cannabis in Canada, which absolutely isn't true. But people tend to land on one side of the fence or the other, on indoor versus outdoor.
Right.
And proving that outdoor is a viable commercial option in Canada within itself has been a challenge. Even, you know, with my medical garden at home that I'm frequently showing pictures on, there's a lot of resistance, and I think a lot of that comes from, you know, protectionism of these very expensive indoor grows.
Right.
A lot of the big producers didn't want outdoor to happen, so they were fighting tooth and nail against it. Now that it's here, they're keen to get involved, only because they know they have to stay competitive. So it's really interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that, you know, growing a plant outside could be so controversial.
Right.
But it really has been, and it's exciting though, because you really get to have these interesting conversations and a chance to change people's viewpoints. So I love having this discussion in Canada, and it's going to be an ongoing thing until we actually have commercial product on the shelves that people can compare against the indoor grown, and then it's really not a debate at that point.
Right. Well, we find now in this time that the consumer, some of the industry, everybody wants to know what is going on, what is good, organic, craft, the industry. But what you're doing is a new staple in the industry.
Right. I mean, people understand organic and craft for other things, like craft beer in particular. It's getting very big, and even a subset of that, organic craft beer, explosive growth over the last few years. So people are starting to warm up to the idea that, yeah, this certainly is possible, and they're becoming somewhat disillusioned with the big conveyor belt cannabis that's coming out of these mega facilities.
Right.
So people are really starting to open their eyes up to, you know, the potential of the craft market. It's really just a question of how to get these experienced operators into the system. You know, putting in an application process in Canada is incredibly arduous, and it's not easy to do without, you know, a team of experts assisting you. So what I'm really interested in is, you know, this next phase of legalization, this second wave where experienced operators are finding their way into the system and doing it very efficiently and really bootstrapping, like they're used to doing, to produce exceptional product for, you know, very little capital up front. So I think it's an exciting time, and this is really what producers are used to buying on the black market, is small batch cannabis from experienced operators.
Right.
So that's what they're looking for in the legal system, and until the legal system can provide that, it's really not going to be competitive with the legacy market.
That's crazy. So how many farms are involved with you?
We have one wholly owned production site for next year, but we have 2 partner farms that'll be in production for 2020 as well. So that'll be on 21 acres, and we expect to produce about 11,000 kilograms of dried product. And we're going to double the number of farms in the collective every year for the next few years to meet the anticipated demand.
Right.
And it's these farmers are really having a hard time getting into the system. So we help them with the application process. We provide them with tried and tested genetics. We provide them with cultivation consulting to ensure that they have a successful crop. and then we have the right to process their crop for a 5-year period, and they retain 70% of the sale price of that crop. So it's a great deal for the farmers, it's a good deal for us, and consumers are really the ones that are winning in the end.
You're almost changing the game in itself, the way you're presenting this.
It's not like what anybody else is doing in Canada. There is a similar model in California.
Right.
A company called Flocana. I helped them develop the Sun and Earth Regenerative Organic certification last year.
Okay.
And it's a very unique company, and they've done phenomenally well. They work with small regenerative organic growers. They provide them with the genetics, they do their processing, they do the branding, they help get their products to market. And all of these farmers' crops are pre-sold every year, so they don't have to worry about the stress of growing it and then what am I going to do with it afterwards. And their products are competing directly on shelves with indoor grown at $15-16 a gram US. So it's absolutely possible. Canada has a bit of a shorter season, but it's really about choosing the right genetics for your environment.
So let's talk a little further on that. Elaborate more on the genetics.
It's just like any other fruit or vegetable. You wouldn't grow the same tomato in Texas that you would up here. You really have to take into consideration that the length of the season, maybe you have to start them inside so they finish on time. But there really hasn't been much breeding done for outdoor production in Canada. I mean, it's almost exclusively been bred for indoor production.
Right.
And the outdoor breeding that has been done is generally in places like California. So we've been working with our own genetics for a few years now on personal medical licenses, and we're allowed to bring those into the commercial system upon licensing. So it really gives us a significant head start on some of these other producers.